Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 3ABN today. It's Thursday night, and I've got my lovely wife with me, Angela, and we thank you for taking the time to tune in. Now, tonight is about seasoning. You'll find out what that means in just a moment. We want to thank you for your prayers. Honey, isn't it going to be a good program tonight?
I'm excited about tonight's program.
That's right.
Yes, like you said, seasoning, a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of salt.
Exactly.
Salt adds flavor. I like to cook, so you'll see why I said
Exactly.
salt.
This is going to be a cooking program tonight.
Well,
not in the literal sense, but you'll find out why you need to stay tuned. You know, sometimes you think about missions and you say, well, how can the Lord use me? Well, tonight you'll find out how you can participate, how you can get involved, and you might be able to open doors in your community to expand and make a difference through this ministry. What are you thinking of?
Last week, where were we?
Yeah, we had a 3ABN rally in Jamaica.
In Kingston?
It was in Kingston and Mandeville.
Andrew's Church.
That's right.
And at Northern Caribbean University. We had a blessed time. As many of you know, my roots is Jamaican, so I was with my people.
That's right.
And I enjoyed it. Really, it was a blessing, wasn't it?
So those of you in Jamaica, if you were there, thank you for being there. It was a beautiful Friday night, all-day Sabbath at Northern Caribbean University.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to being in Jamaica later on this year. So we'll work on that for the Lord's glory. But tonight, we're not going to go to music. We're going to go right to our guest so you can find out why this is a seasoned program. Good to have the SALT director, Eric Camarillo. Good to have you here again.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. Always happy to be here. Always happy.
You know, I'm always excited when you come in because we've been following your trek. You're not a stranger to 3ABN. You're not new to our family. But every time you come, instead of repeating the same program, saying the same thing tonight, you're going to unfold. This is going to be like a cauliflower artichoke kind of program, showing where you've been, how you got started, and where you're headed. Just kind of give people an overview of who you are.
Yeah. So, you know, my name's Eric. You know, I started the organization back in 2011. September of 2011. So we are talking, it's going to be 14 years this year. And God just, you know, I experienced homelessness when I was younger, and it was about 6 months. And so it really, you know, when I became an Adventist Christian, it really kind of, you know, God was using that to plant a seed for something, you know what I mean? And when I came into the faith, you know, I just was thinking, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do with my life? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What can you use me for? And, you know, all the stuff, you know, before you give yourself to Christ, right? There's all this stuff that you learn and that you go through. And then when you come to Christ, then all that stuff gets kind of repurposed and it's redirected into for His kingdom and for His glory. And so I was wondering, what is it that He wants me to do there? And you know, in September 2011, SALT started, and we hadn't looked back. You know.
How did it start?
So you know,
and what is SALT? What does it mean?
Yeah, so SALT's an acronym for Service and Love Together.
Yes.
You know, we were just kind of looking in the community, and I came into the faith, and I was seeing that there were a lot of churches doing a lot of things, but there wasn't a lot of unity. There wasn't a lot of people, a lot of collaboration, as much collaboration as I would have liked to see. And so SALT really started as a way to get different churches and different groups together for one purpose. So combine your resources, combine your energy, and let's do this. Let's make a deep impact in the community. And so that's kind of, you know, we talked to some young adults. We had an event. We kind of pitched the idea to the young adults, and then it just kind of caught on, you know, and like wildfire, other young adults were telling other people, and then in about a year later, after that, you know, that initial start, we had about 850 young adults in the sanctuary, all wanting to do something in the community and make a difference in the community. And so that was kind of just, you know, what was a catalyst that kind of spread and made SALT what it is today. Yeah.
And so here we are, seeing you married. You were single at the time.
Yep, that's right.
You experienced homelessness, and so the Lord took your tragedy and turned it into a treasure that he's using today. And so
Now tell us about your wife. You have a wife?
Oh,
How long
yes,
you been
yes.
married?
Oh, I could talk about her all 2 hours if you want.
I love it.
No, yeah, we met, you know, she's a Puerto Rican and Cuban.
Yes.
She grew
Good
up in
mix.
Miami and
Yes.
spent some time in Puerto Rico as well. She's a school counselor at a private Christian academy, Adventist academy in
Okay.
Orlando.
Yes.
And she does mental health counseling in the evenings.
Very good.
And so, yeah, we got married 5 years ago, and you know, I tell her this all the time, and she thinks I'm joking. I'm like, man, if you didn't come in my life, I don't know, I'd be, you know, work myself to death or something, you know. But she's
She has
just
balance.
Yeah, she does, she really does, and she volunteered one day at one of our outreaches with the unsheltered when we first started, and well, it was like 2016 or so when she volunteered, and you know, we became friends, and you know, over time we got to know each other, and you know, then next thing you know, I'm popping the question eventually, and then
Okay.
you know, we kind of go from there. Got married during the pandemic, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So during the pandemic, which means, was it a digital wedding?
So, you know, our wedding was scheduled for April 5th, and you know, hopefully I don't get these dates wrong. It was scheduled for April 5th.
Yeah.
And we you know, the with all the shutdowns and everything happening started around mid-March,
Yes.
you know, and so the pastor that was marrying us, he's like, you know, we call him Uncle Les. You know, he called us. He's like, "Do you want to just get married tomorrow? We don't know what's going to happen in 2
Right.
weeks." You know what I mean? It was March 23rd when he called.
Oh, yeah.
The next day, we just went in an empty field by Florida Conference Office there in Orlando, and you know, we had about 15, 20 people there.
How nice.
Outdoors.
Yeah, my wife went on OfferUp, and you know, we got some of the stuff together, and friends rallied together, and we got some pictures, and you know, some friends brought food there. It was very small. We saved a lot of money.
Right.
You sure did.
It was very small, but it was really beautiful. You know, we don't regret anything. We really that was a beautiful time for us. Yeah.
Tell he lights up when he
Exactly.
talks
Yeah.
about his wife. I love
That's right. She's now the salt in his life.
Oh, hey.
Okay, all
So I
right.
love
Yeah,
that.
I
yeah.
just
She
need to add
seasoned
that.
it for sure. 'Cause
She
it was
definitely
real
seasoned
plain.
your
It
life.
was real plain before her.
Yes.
So,
You know,
yeah.
salt is so diverse. I want to let us go to this video and give our audience, our viewing audience, if you're a listening audience, then you might be able to hear some of it. But the viewing audience, you'll see generally what salt is really all about. Check it out.
Homelessness in Central Florida is just getting so much worse. Shelters are at capacity. Rent is at all-time highs. Every $100 increase in median rent equals a 9% increase in homelessness. And there's been a $550 increase in median rent in the past 3 years. That means a 50% increase in homelessness. So we're starting to see that now, especially among youth and young adults, seniors, you know, people 55 plus are becoming homeless. And, you know, I think a lot of the time people look at the people that are living on the street and they think that they've been there forever. But over the past 4 years, about 75% of people experiencing homelessness have been experiencing it for the first time. The story of SALT is a story of God using average people that have leaned on their faith and wanted to make a difference in the community among people experiencing homelessness. Before I became a Christian, I had experienced homelessness myself. I was about 20 years old. And not having access to things like a place to wash clothes, not having access to a case manager to help me understand what services were available to me and what I qualified for, and to help me navigate the system, it was really difficult. And I think as I became a Christian and started to think about how can I take this energy that I was putting into the world before into something that God can use.
So we were doing breakfast. We would serve about 8 to 16 at a time, but that started growing.
Together I got with some friends. We came up with some names. We took a poll, and SALT was the name that came out from Matthew 5:13, that we are the salt of the earth.
So yeah, like this was pretty much the OG group, 2012, 2013.
So, I mean, it was a bunch of different ministries and outreaches that Eric and a few others kind of brought together. So it went from 16 to 20 to 50 to 100. We didn't have enough benches to fit the amount of people coming.
I didn't realize how fulfilled I felt by something so simple.
We were cooking out of restaurants. We would have hotels send us food. We'd have people bring food. We'd have churches, other organizations donate food.
I kind of joke that making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich kind of changed my life.
Towards the end, we were serving, I think, close to 200 on Saturday mornings.
And as we continued to share food, we didn't want to just stop at food. And so we started to provide clothing and hygiene products, which ended up leading to us fundraising for a clothing trailer that we called our Change Trailer.
But that started growing.
We didn't know it at the time, but that trailer helped inspire kind of our model moving forward in how we deliver our services by really just meeting people where they are.
And then the next big milestone was our shower trailer.
We found out that over half of the people we were serving were actively looking for work, but those same people hadn't showered in 3 to 7 days on average. There were some people going on job interviews that hadn't showered in 3 months. So we're like, okay, there isn't enough shower capacity in this community. There needs to be something to provide showers. And that's when we fundraised about $40,000 for our shower trailer. And now we're providing food. We started to bring in barbers to do haircuts. We're doing showers, and we're doing clothing and hygiene products.
We have the clothing trailer and we're just giving out clothes, giving out clothes, giving out clothes. And it's just like, this is kind of wasteful. Let's find a solution for that. And that's where the laundry trailer came in.
And we started to add other services like mail services. We added limited storage services, charging stations for the unsheltered.
Are you already signed up for showers?
But there needed to be a comprehensive drop-in center in the downtown Orlando. There needed to be a front door for people experiencing homelessness. A place where someone can come and say, I want my homelessness to end, and a case manager can guide them through that process from beginning to end.
Let's really start attacking the roots of the homeless issue, and let's really try to help them on another level.
Now that case management program went on that year to help 1 out of 5 people transition to shelter or housing, and 3 out of 4 take the next step toward ending their homelessness. And since then, they're on track to helping directly end homelessness for either one family or person a week, and divert people away from the system, because our system's already burdened.
This is the past, but I also see the future in these pictures. Yeah.
Homelessness in Central Florida is just getting so much worse. We are trying to do what we can to meet the need, to keep up with the need, but it's becoming overwhelming. It's a lot. Our community is just not able to handle the influx that we're seeing right now. It's not people that are there just all the time, you know, and we're seeing a lot more first-timers.
I put you in the system. I just have to ask you a few questions, okay?
And so as God continues to write this story, we're hoping that more people come together and want to be a part of the story with us together.
We're so thankful that in January of 2024, we were awarded a grant to work with homeless youth.
It's for unaccompanied minors from ages 16 to 17 and young adults from 18 to 24.
We just got both of our trailers delivered yesterday. This big trailer here is going to be dedicated to youth and young adults experiencing homelessness.
We're going to be providing the case management support, the day services supports, the showers and laundry and all that stuff.
And it has both laundry and showers inside the same trailer.
We're really excited. We think it's going to make a big difference here, and that's going to be 5 days a week. So it's basically doubling our current 5 days a week here in downtown Orlando to now an additional 5 days a week across the Central Florida area.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. Like, yeah, I used to work in corporate. I used to work in that office building until my wife died, until, you know, I got in a car accident, until I had a stroke. And
it's crazy, because as we see this increase in homelessness, the increase in evictions, you know, the increase in rent prices, we're not seeing an increase in wages. The wages has pretty much been the same. It's no longer just a homelessness crisis, it's an emergency. This is nothing new. We're not doing anything new here. This is what God has asked his people to do. And we're just following that calling. And we're excited because so many people have joined this calling with us. Every day is a new page in the story that God is writing through SALT. We all are just working together to help provide the most vulnerable, not only with their basic needs, the most basic human needs, but also to help end their homelessness, to revive that hope in them that one day they don't have to be living on the street. They can be in a home. And our hope is that you join us in becoming a part of that story here in Central Florida.
Wow, I've known a lot about SALT, but this really has impacted me, seeing it in a broader view.
Eye-opener.
Eye-opener. Eric, I mean, you're living this. This is your heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it's not only the heartbeat that God is keeping alive in you, but look at all the lives you're touching. How does that impact you when you wake up in the morning?
You know what? When we started SALT, we had a dream that one day we would be able to have enough resources that we'll be serving so many people that we would have to do this full time, you know, and that was what we envisioned from day one.
Oh, wow.
And God has done it.
Amen.
He's done it. He's provided resources. Many people watching right now have probably donated to SALT at some point, because we've been coming on here, you know, 6-7 years now. 3ABN has seen the ministry grow.
That's right.
You know? And that's, you know, now we have, you know, a team of 46 employees. We're about to be in 5 locations 5 days a week right now.
Amen.
Across Central Florida. We have a 2-day-a-week location. We have a branch in San Diego, and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, it's been, you know, we can't take credit for it. You know, God comes out of nowhere, and he comes out of left field with stuff that we don't even know where it's coming from, you know. And it's just him reminding us, hey, I'm in control. Yeah. I got you guys. I'll provide. You guys keep doing my work, and I will provide. And that's the message he's been sending to us, you know.
You know, the work has been there. Ephesians 2:10, for you are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works which God prepared beforehand that you should walk in. So this need was there. The Lord was just looking for somebody. Who will we send, and who will go for us? And Eric said, here I am. Send me. And this impact is amazing. I mean, let me talk about something that people watching may have missed this. People were walking up to the windows asking questions about being registered, but there's a room that had all these files in it. Talk about the mail services and what that actually means.
So, you know, people experiencing homelessness, they don't have an address, right? So a lot of the time they burn bridges with banks. If they're applying for jobs, they need to put an address down. If they need to get their paychecks or Social Security checks mailed somewhere, they need an address. If their family or loved ones want to send them something, they need an address. I mean, it's a key piece in helping end homelessness. Our data team actually looked at the strongest correlations to getting someone to see a case manager. We found that mail services was one of the services that was most correlated to getting someone over to see a case manager. Right. So that's why we continue to market that. Yeah, it's the bridge. Sure, our outreach services, the showers, the laundry, you know, they meet basic need, right? And we're called to do that. And it builds trust, it builds relationship, and especially for our chronically homeless individuals, our guests that are chronically homeless, it gets that trust to the point where they will say, you know what, I'm done with this. I want to get out of this situation. And a lot of the time, they've tried and they've tried and they've tried, and the resources aren't there. The organizations have failed them. Maybe they've been looked at. You know, there was 2 brothers that came to us recently. This was about a month ago. They came to us and you know, they sat with a case manager. They got some basic needs met, and we were able to end their homelessness. And before they left, they came up to our team and they're like, you know what? we've gone to other organizations like, we feel you guys, like, you don't look at our outward appearance, you know, because they tattoos, you know,
Right.
they had a history, you could tell there was maybe a history there, but our team treated them with love, with compassion.
Amen.
Beautiful.
And they were almost in tears, you know, sharing how we didn't treat them any differently, you know.
That's right.
We treated them the way that we felt Jesus would want us to treat people, how he calls us
That's
to treat
right.
people. And that made a difference in their lives, you know, and then they ended up getting off the street, and
Really?
you know, so it's an amazing thing to be a part of. I feel blessed to be a part of it. I know our team is amazing. They're doing some really good work. So.
Now, somebody's coming there for the first time. Do they come and register? How does that work?
You know what? Good question. I have a video that shows a walkthrough of our services. I'll show you what one of our clients goes through.
Yeah.
And you can literally see through his eyes what it's like to be at SALT and get services.
Okay, let's go to that. Let's go to that video.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Richie. This is how SALT has helped me.
You know, SALT is a world
Yeah.
in a world.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just go over some of what we just saw in the
Right.
first and second video, because it just continues to unfold. Honestly, Eric, I thought I knew everything about SALT.
We don't.
I really didn't. What I'm seeing today is like, it's an epiphany. There's a light going off in my brain saying, wow, SALT is not just about giving somebody clothes and giving them a sandwich or a snack to go along the way and have a great day. Not just about giving them a shower and say, well, we'll never see you again, but let's just go to another location. You're talking about getting involved in these people's lives.
Yes, life-changing.
You're talking about becoming their family. Talk about that, because that's powerful. Richie's story is just an amazing example of that.
Yeah, and you know, you made me think of something, because really what, you know, we get a lot of questions. We served over 7,000 different people in the last four years or so. And people ask, what's that common denominator? And, you know, I've shared it before, but I feel like it's worth sharing again, is, you know, yes, triggers to homelessness include things like addiction, things like mental illness. We're seeing a lot of evictions right now. People losing their jobs, loss of income, of course, is a big one.
Yes.
But those aren't necessarily the causes of homelessness, right? So when you look at like severe mental illness, for example, 5% of the general population has severe mental illness, but not all of them are experiencing homelessness, right?
True.
So what's the difference there? The difference is that everyone experiencing homelessness has gone through maybe a severe mental health episode, an addictive episode, they've gone through an eviction, they've lost income, but they had no one that was able or willing to care for them when they went through that situation. So the people we see, people that come to us, they don't have anyone in their life that is able or willing to care for them, that's maybe in their corner rooting for them. So we feel called to be that group for these people.
Wow.
You know, we are in their corner, we're rooting for them, we're wanting to make sure, and we're sharing that love with them. And you know, like Richie, for example, you know, he came to us, he was experiencing homelessness for 2 years before he came to us. Doesn't have any close family relationships, no one he could really, you know, count on. He's kind of a loner, I guess you can say. Young adult, you know, and he started coming to us, he started getting showers with us, he signed up for mail, you know, some of the services you saw there.
Even cell phone charging.
Yeah, charging his phone, doing laundry, seeing, and you know, he started that. Then he started going to our group Bible studies first, actually. And he started coming to our group Bible studies, and he started creating a relationship with our spiritual care team, and then the spiritual care team encouraged him to go see a case manager. So he's like, okay, I'll go see a case manager. Started seeing a case manager. Shortly after, he got a job. And it was about from 6 months after we met him. In between that time, he got a job and he moved into housing 6 months later, his own place.
What?
And then about a month and a half later, he texts our spiritual care team. He's like, man, you won't believe it, I got promoted at my job. I got 2 people under me now.
Wow.
And then after that, he started volunteering with us.
Really?
You know, and
giving back.
And you know, our spiritual care team continues to connect with him and you know, just build relationship with him. But you know, it's been an amazing journey. You know, he's a really great example of someone that really just needed someone in their corner, needed someone to believe in them, to root for them,
To stand
support
on
them.
somebody's shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of the time, that's all people need, you know? And sometimes we don't know what to do, right? So I'm sure there's people watching that have been involved in ministry for the unsheltered, right? And you know, they are providing food and they're providing clothing, but they know that there's something more that needs to be done there.
Amen.
But they don't know how to do it. They don't know what the next steps are. That feeling, when you have someone in front of you, you give them food, you give them clothes, and that feeling of like, there's more that's needed here. What am I going to do? They start asking you questions. They say they want to get into housing. They say they want to get employment, but you don't have the resources or the ability to help them get there.
Right.
That is what helped to drive us to continue taking things to the next level and to continue growing. Because when you're in front of someone, and we still face that even today. We have, last year we served 3,300 people, 120,000 different times, right? Wow. And when, even today, when like our case managers recently had a mom with kids come to them. The next day, the next day was a Friday, had a mom with kids come to them again. Then on Monday, had another mom with kids come to literally 3 days in a row. 3 different moms with children experiencing homelessness. And we didn't have the resources to help all 3 of them. We have to think, well, we only have enough resources for maybe 1.5 or maybe one, like what do we, and then this person will be on a longer plan. Like that's stressful to think about, right? Like, because you're like, you want to help everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, you know, and that's what pushes us forward. It keeps pushing us to grow, to pray, to take things to the next level each year, because there are more and more people experiencing homelessness. They need more help. They need more assistance to get out of the situation. And so anyway, I share that because it just, you know, this work is tough, you know.
As I'm looking at that, I'm glad you pointed that out, because there's nothing more self-defeating, or you're feeling, oh, why can't I help finish their story? And the Richie story is, I could imagine, it's like you guys may not have this is kind of a workspace thing, but you guys should have something like ring a bell when he gets a job. Hey,
right.
let's ring a bell today. One of our clients got a job. Let's ring 2 bells. People working on him.
That's
something to celebrate. You know, ring a bell. Hey, what's that? Our client got a job. Just to kind of, it's a boost to say, let's just keep going, an incentive. Let's just keep going. Or take their picture, say, on such and such a date, this is when they came to us. This is the day he got his job. This is the day he got promoted. And you look at that and you think, there are more Richies out there. There are more people when you get up in the morning, that will just drive you. I may be suggesting something that you don't do, but
I love that idea. I like the bell idea, and you know, we might just throw a bell in there. We'll call it the Lomacang, and we'll put it in the corner.
Lomacang bell, the LB.
Today, Richie got a job.
Every time we hit the bell, Pastor Lomacang's voice will be on the. No, but you know, one thing that we invest in that is hard for us to continue to invest in, but we know it's needed, is our data team. So our data team is what looks at everything happening. They put it on paper and they communicate it to not only the public, but to our staff. They say, hey, look, you guys are breaking records. You housed, so the amount of people they housed in 2024 was a 69% increase over the year before.
Amen.
Ooh. And so they were excited to hear that. They're like, wow, their goal was 100. They housed 130. So they beat their goal by 30%. You know?
Amen.
And so, you know, and then as testimonies happen, we try and circulate that among the team and make sure that they know, like, hey, you're making a difference here, you know, and because it can be tough, you know, time after time, you get people in front of you, especially as a case manager, and you know, we see so many people, and with the limited resources, we have to, you know, that's the tough part, but those wins, those successes are what help keep us going.
Now, how many locations do you have?
So our main location right now is downtown Orlando. I actually have some pictures of some of our trailers.
Let's see.
So those are actually all of our locations right now in Central Florida, where we serve right now. In the center there is where we serve more frequently. On the outskirts, we kind of do those like maybe once a week or once a month. Okay. And then you'll notice there, that's Florida. Right. But then we have one in California there. That's San Diego. The San Diego chapter has been killing it. They've been housing families already. They had a family baptized recently. So they're moving on forward, and we're excited to have them on the team. But our vision is national. You know, our vision is that we're in every metropolitan area, because every metropolitan area needs something like this in their community if they don't have it.
One of the reasons why I'm so glad that 3ABN continues to do this program, somebody one day is going to look at this program and say, we need to make this a franchise. We need to make this every state. True. Because things are changing rapidly. You know, homelessness is increasing. That video pointed that out. That's not going to decrease. The loss of jobs, we're talking about, you know, people inadvertently being laid off, and things are happening all around America. Some people come to America and don't know what to do. And many of them come legally and just don't know, how do I get started? Right. And so SALT has become this bridge in so many ways that I'm learning new things about it today. So what I'd like to see is some of your mobile devices. You know, how do you travel? Let me see some of those. Because I remember years ago when you said, we just got our first trailer. And we celebrated that with you. But let's talk about the expansion.
So one thing that is kind of unique about us is we can provide everything we do in mobile fashion. We can go somewhere and set up and provide all of our services, a comprehensive, holistic approach, just by setting up somewhere. We could set up outside, so anywhere.
So let me ask a quick question. Because you have a shower trailer, so that means when you go somewhere, you've got to contract or agree with someone to either connect to the hydrant or connect to their water supply. So that's another thing.
So we can hook up to a hose at a building, but there's also fresh water tanks on those trailers. So they could run without being hooked onto a hose. So I'll show you the first one here. This is our very first trailer. We call it, that one is our original trailer. So we've done over 50,000 showers in that trailer already.
What's in that shower?
So we have 4 full bathrooms. Each bathroom has a shower, sink, and toilet.
You did over 50,000 showers already.
Over 50,000 showers since we got that in 2018. Actually, 3ABN, half of the cost of that trailer was fundraised by 3ABN viewers.
Amen.
Yeah, so that was the beginning. And then you know, we a few years later, we launched our laundry trailer.
Okay.
And so it has 6 washers and dryers in it. A laundry detergent company donates unlimited laundry, $150,000 worth of laundry to us.
What?
Wow.
When we're operating this at our main location, we do about 50 loads of laundry a day, about 80 showers a day. That's how busy these trailers got. So those 2 trailers work together in downtown Orlando.
So you have people that are manning these. Okay, this is you do this, you do that.
And where do you keep all the detergent and things like that?
Yeah,
You have a
so
warehouse?
we wish we had a warehouse. That would be something. That's a dream of ours too. You know, because now we have, you know, 6 locations in Central Florida, and there's a lot of supply going in and out to each of those locations. You can imagine. So. But yeah, that right there is kind of our Orlando setup. We have, you know, obviously some case managers and things like that, and I'll go into more on that location.
And you have a white shower trailer.
We do. So
What is that?
the next picture is our.
There it is.
So it's we experiment. Each trailer we get, we like try something new and just kind of experiment a little bit.
Okay.
This is a carbon fiber, you know, shell.
Okay.
And so this has 3 bathrooms in it. With a shower, sink, and toilet. This is dedicated about 30 minutes north of Orlando. It's a place called Sanford.
Oh, I know Sanford.
Okay.
And this trailer is dedicated there along with case managers and other services. Actually, that's the same trailer that our San Diego chapter got too. So our San Diego chapter has the same white trailer.
So give an estimated idea of what something like that costs, because somebody might say they need another trailer, and I'd be
Right.
glad to donate the money for it.
Yeah, you know, whenever we've realized that new trailers open up new opportunities, you know,
right.
and like even, you know, it's just how God works too, right? When you prepare yourself, when you increase your capacity,
That's right.
then God has more that He can fill, right? And so
You
that's
build
how
it, we'll
is.
fill it.
Yeah. If we build a trailer, He has going to have a use for it.
That's right.
I'll share a story on that in a second, but yeah, the trailers, you know, if it's a 3-bathroom, you're probably talking about $55,000 or so. We started to add ADA bathrooms to our trailer. So that next picture actually is a trailer
The restroom and shower?
that has an ADA bathroom in the back.
Has a
with
what?
An ADA bathroom, a handicap accessible
handicap.
Okay.
bathroom with and it has a wheelchair lift there
Oh,
too. So
nice.
people with disabilities can get in that wheelchair lift. They can go into a bathroom, use a toilet safely, use the shower safely. So we started to build those on our newer trailers. So that is a little more expensive. So that one we're looking at probably about $85,000, something like that. But you know, so many people experiencing homelessness right now are seniors. Last year we served over 600 seniors, over 60 years old, that came to our site experiencing homelessness, because Social Security doesn't keep up with the rent increases. And so
Wow.
people end up getting evicted. I mean, the seniors, it's unreal right now. Our Lake County branch has been seeing a lot of seniors too, which I'll chat more about. But you know, that trailer, for example, right? A real estate company decided, you know what, we want to buy this trailer for you guys. We applied for a grant with them. They gave us about $100,000 to get that trailer and get it all set up.
Amen.
Got solar panels on it too.
Wonderful.
And we didn't have really, you know, a place to use it. And so what ended up happening was we did the ribbon cutting. And around the same time we did that ribbon cutting, a shelter in Sanford had said, hey, our women and children's bathrooms and showers are down. We need some help. You know, do you have an extra trailer that maybe you could bring here to help with the women and children? I'm like, actually, we do. Yeah, great,
Right.
great timing. We cut the ribbon, and literally it went right to that shelter to help the women and children at that
Look at
shelter.
Praise
And and you know, it happened with one of our other trailers, which I'll tell you about later too. But that's just how God works. You know, you build it, and He puts it to work, you know what I mean?
Now, how do you sanitize it every time someone comes in and out? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have a sanitizer kind of gun that we use, and we spray all the surfaces. We wipe it down. We make sure there's not even a hair in that bathroom for the next person, because it's a dignity thing for us, right?
Absolutely.
If we wouldn't feel comfortable showering in it, then you know, it's not clean enough.
No.
You know,
That's
we gotta work on it more. So our staff, that's another reason why we need staff too, because that's a lot of work.
Maintenance.
The maintenance, the cleaning after each person. But that's what we feel. That's the level of service, of dignity we want to provide to our guests. Because we're serving people experiencing homelessness. I think sometimes some organizations are kind of lax on the customer service.
Right.
But that's not how it should be. Our team is there to provide exceptional customer service to our guests, because that's part of showing God's love too, right?
Yes, it is.
Excellence, and so that's that's something that's important to us.
Now, what do you do with the seniors that need a place to live? How does that work?
So you know what? It's a really sad statistic, but in Central Florida last year, 50% of all the seniors experiencing homelessness were able to fit in shelters. The other 50% had to be outside. There was no other option for them. There's no programs, no shelters for that group of people. Wow. And so what ended up happening, we had a 72-year-old come to us with her dog. She was a widow. She was in, they were kind of old school in a sense, where, the husband was taking care of all the bills and doing all that, knew how to work the computer. Oh. She didn't really know how to do that, so after he passes, she's really kind of stuck. She has no one to go to, no one to go to for support. So she ends up getting evicted from her home. She finds out about SALT. She comes to SALT. She's 72 years old now with a dog, just recently widowed. And she's bright red when she comes to us, because you know how hot it gets in Florida.
Yes.
Right.
And so when you're older, you're more susceptible to heat stroke and things like that, heat-related illness. And so we brought her inside, tried to get her an AC to cool her down. And we tried everything we could to get this woman into a shelter. But all the shelters were full. We couldn't, she had to sleep outside. And we didn't have the resources to put her up somewhere, because we see so many people that are in that age range that need help, And so, but I will say this, it took a few months to get her into a shelter. We finally got her into a shelter.
Okay, good.
And we ended her homelessness after 6 months. The 6 months from when she first came to us, 6 months later she was in housing.
Praise
but it's really
heart-wrenching
really
when you
hard.
think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you just simply say, well, let's trade places for
Right.
6 months,
Yeah.
just imagine in just a brief moment, for the next 6 months, I have no place to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and wherever I am, that's it. My day just begins and ends the same way for 6 months. That's a tragedy. I must ask this question. So there are people that know where you're going to be showing up on those particular days. Oh. You ever get there and there are people waiting for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, on our main location, we have, I would even say 80 to 100 people lined
That
up,
many?
ready for service. Yeah, every day. So we're still getting the numbers on this from 2024, but in 2023, we served 3,089 different people, and 2,000 of them were new to our services.
Wow.
Ooh.
So about 70% of everyone experiencing homelessness in Central Florida each year is experiencing it for the first time. So every day we get someone new. When we recently moved location, I'll talk more about that later, but when we got to that new location, the first 5 days of operation, we had 77 new people to our services.
Wow. And I'm sure word of mouth, some people say, hey, hey.
Do you have business hours too?
Yeah, we have business hours. We set up on Google, so people will know where we are, what days and all that, so that, people can come and get the services they need.
I must imagine with your staff, you have counseling available, you have prayer, those who wanted to have Bible studies. Yeah. These are not imposed services. These are elective things.
Yep.
It's not precursors to getting any service. But talk about some of those days when, and I'm sure you probably had many of these instances where just the story you just heard just breaks you that day, and you say, we got to keep going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We, I mean, every day almost feels like that, I mean, where we hear a new story, we see a new person. I mean, we have our youth and young adult program, which is actually, which I will talk more about in the second half. So, people are listening, second half, you'll learn more about that program. But, especially with the young people, Central Florida has one of the highest concentrations of youth and young adult homelessness.
Wow.
So
homelessness? Young
homelessness,
people?
16 to 24-year-olds. And so we have a dedicated team for that demographic. We have dedicated space and trailers for that demographic to make sure that they could have their own space. Because the causes of homelessness for that group are so different. You know, they're aging out of foster care. They're escaping abuse or human trafficking. Human trafficking is really big in Florida. Or they're maybe identifies LGBTQ+, and they're kicked out of their home, or they're running away, or a combination of any of those things. I mean, they're out there on the street. So even when you see kids out there, when you see, I mean, it's
heart-wrenching.
It's hard. Yeah, it's heart-wrenching for sure.
Now, sometimes people don't know about your service, and the most unlikely person will say, "You mean you haven't heard about SALT and you're an Adventist?" Talk about Miss Betty for a moment. Yeah.
So, we just expanded to a place called Lake County. There's a lot of places there, and it's a pretty big county. And so actually I have one picture I want to show real quick to kind of show some of the team, the leadership that started that chapter. So Miss Betty attends a Presbyterian church. That's them right there. So the second to the left is Miss Betty. And the third to the left is Kelly. She's the one that, and the fourth to the left is Nancy.
Yes.
And so Kelly and Nancy kind of are, and Miss Betty are kind of spearheading this over there. And so we named the shower trailer they got Miss Betty because Miss Betty is not an Adventist Christian, right? Yes. She's Presbyterian. Mm-hmm. And she has a homeless ministry over there in Lake County. And she, Nancy and Kelly will attend that ministry, and they would help, and they work together and serve the unsheltered. And one day Miss Betty's like, "Hey, you guys should call SALT and bring them over so that we can start doing showers and things like that." And they were like, "Who's SALT?" And Miss Betty's like, "What? They're an Adventist ministry, and you guys are Adventists. You don't know them,
Shame on you.
And so anyway, Kelly ended up calling me. We talked about we kind of dreamed together a little bit, and I ended up going to the church where they do the outreach, which was a Presbyterian church. We had different churches around the table there represented, not just Adventist churches, but different churches there, and we talked about the vision, and they talked about their vision of wanting to bring a shower trailer to Lake County.
Wonderful.
And I said, "Look, this was just kind of, it kind of came out of nowhere for us, right? We had a plan of what we were going to do." And I was like, "Look, I love the idea. We don't necessarily have the capacity to provide a lot of support here. Mm-hmm. We don't have the resources to provide, but you know what? We all prayed together in that room, and we said, you know what? Let's just see what God does." Right when I left that meeting, someone had donated, and I don't want to say her name because I don't think she'd want me to share it, but someone had donated $20,000 toward the shower trailer.
Praise God.
Wow.
Right when I left that.
Wow.
And it felt, we believed it was confirmation that God wanted this to happen.
Amen.
In 3 months, this is record time for any SALT trailer. In 3 months, they raised the money for that trailer, for a shower trailer.
For Lake County?
In Lake County.
Wow.
And so they're operating 2 days a week right now. They named it Miss Betty because Miss Betty helped introduce everyone to SALT, And yeah, it's been really, really great there. I have another picture that I'll show with Kelly, with some of our guests there that we're serving. And then the next picture there is Nancy praying with one of our seniors experiencing homelessness there. And then we have Richie, who's also a leader and a huge help in the ministry there, kind of consoling, comforting one of our guests that's going through a tough time. They're seeing a lot there, especially a lot of seniors as well. I was just talking to her today. They're seeing a lot of seniors there sleeping in their cars. Mm-hmm. But a beautiful thing that we're seeing there, which is really cool, is that there's so many groups and churches supporting this effort in Lake County. It's just really it's just
collective effort.
We're praising God for God bringing all these people to the table to help. I mean, the Presbyterian Church has donated.
Yes.
The Baptist Church has donated.
Amen.
The a Unitarian church, you know, invited Kelly to go speak and donated. I mean, it's just been, you know.
The sheep I have.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, yeah, and even, I mean, you know, at the end of the year, last year, you know, the Church of Latter-day Saints kind of selected SALT to fundraise at the end of the year to help us continue our mission as well.
LDS?
So yeah. So it's just been, you know, that's a really beautiful
Tearing
thing.
down the walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the acronym for SALT is service and love together.
Together.
Right?
Yeah,
So this is what we
yes.
envisioned in the
Amen.
beginning of starting this ministry. We all come together. We do Matthew 25 ministry.
right.
And it brings everyone together. And so yeah, that's been a huge blessing. Yeah.
The least of these. You know, when the Lord says, come, you bless them, inherit the kingdom. And they said, then he tells them the reason why. And you're checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
And God put that on your heart.
Yeah.
You see, the gospel is one thing. But James talks about the functional gospel. If you see somebody hungry or naked or need clothing and you dismiss them, you are a respecter of person. And you look at the ministry of Jesus, he modeled that. He fed the hungry, clothed the naked, raised the dead. Now, you don't have resurrection services.
We haven't raised anyone from the dead yet, but you know.
But the Lord will raise them up.
Yes.
But he's raising people up literally out of the gutter.
Well, and you know, you remind me of a testimony that our Lake County leader Kelly was sharing with me later, and so or earlier today. So there's a young person they've been ministering to that they've been serving at the Lake County Project and the chapter, and you know, one of the people involved in the ministry used to be an addictions counselor, and she's there. She's talking with this guy who has an addiction. Young guy has an addiction. And she shares with him some of those, you know, as an addictions counselor, helping him to process that and hopefully give that up, right?
Yes.
Because it's you know, of the destructive nature of this, right?
Yes.
And obviously, you know, we're always emphasizing spiritual care, and we want God to get the glory for everything we do. So He knows we're a Christian Adventist organization.
Yes.
And so he ends up 2 days later, after this. He overdoses. He almost dies. He gets raised back to life. Someone brings him back to life using, I think they used Narcan or something to get him back to life.
Dear.
His life literally flashed before his eyes. He comes out of that and he comes back to the ministry. And he's like, ever since I got back, I've been thinking about those words you told me the last time. And he's like, I want to give this up. I need to go to detox. And so our branch there, our leadership there is getting him over to detox and continuing to minister to him and help him through that process. But you know, but in this case, you know, someone had said, I heard it somewhere, and I can't remember where, but that the opposite of addiction isn't being sober. The opposite of addiction is community.
Love that.
Being able to provide community to someone in addiction, love to someone that's in addiction, is so healing. It's so healing, and we see this here, and we're, you know, anyone listening right now, please pray for him. You know, and you know, we'll continue kind of walking with him in his story. Yeah. So.
I love that. The opposite of addiction is community, not sober. That's beautiful. You know, Eric, you're just laying the foundation. And so if you're watching the program or listening to the program, you've seen this artichoke of a ministry just continue unfolding. And it'll be wonderful. We're going to talk about in the second hour how you can volunteer. But before we end the first hour, say you have a circumstance or situation, there are people that you can partner with are you looking into how to partner with somebody who can provide housing, who can begin to build those bridges? That may be another facet.
Yeah, we're always looking for partners. We have tons of partners we work with. Every partner we have, we vet the partners too and make sure that they're, you know,
legit.
They're legit and providing, you know, Christ-centered, you know, services, or, you know, because sometimes some places are, you know, a little. But yeah, but we have tons of partners we work with to help get people from experiencing homelessness to housed. And then our spiritual care team, you know, last year, 18 people were brought to Christ through baptism.
Amen.
And so, you know, providing, again, that community, those group Bible studies, the church services, has been a really key point too, especially, even on the addiction side too, because God is the one who helps to break our addictions, right? We're all addicted to sin, right? And God helps us to overcome that, born in sin. So yeah, always looking for collaborations, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, we'll talk about that later off on the program, but salt, you are the salt of the earth. If the salt loses its savor, what purpose does it have any longer? And you're not by any means attempting to lose your savor, but you're just about getting ready to expand. And we know that what we're seeing here, Eric, is you look back on your inception and look at where you are today, and to say, I wake up every morning supercharged, ready to go. And I know when you pull up and you're hooking up those hoses and stabilizing the trailer and you see the people gathering, it's like, thank you, Lord. Another life is going to be changed today.
Yeah. God is doing something here, and again, He put it on our hearts to grow and to expand, to help even more people, more places, but not just in a wide sense, but in a deep sense.
That's right.
We want to build relationship, and so we're excited to see that, and we'll continue serving. And sharing Christ's love with the people we see are most vulnerable in our streets.
Quick question: how many days a week are you open?
So we have 5. So by probably another 3 months, we'll have 5 locations, 5 days a week in Central Florida.
Crazy.
If you're watching and listening to the program, you think we're just about done. We're just getting started. You do not want to miss the second half. We're going to be talking about the ministry to the young, and so many more things. So we're going to take about a 2-minute break. Don't go away. There's more salt to come. Welcome back to the second hour, and we've got a salt shaker with a lot more salt in
We
it.
should have had a salt shaker.
Yeah, I know, right?
You need to get yourself a salt
Should have
shaker.
did some salt water in here.
Yeah, exactly. Eric is not about to lose any flavor anytime soon.
No.
If you missed the first hour, you missed a lot. But
You did.
fortunately, there's a replay of this program later on that you'll get a chance to peek in on it. But salt, if somebody's just joining us, boom, summarize. SALT. First of all, what does that mean?
SALT is an acronym for Service and Love Together. We act as a front door for people experiencing homelessness. Not just a front door, but a mobile front door.
That's right.
So anyone that's experiencing homelessness can come to us first, get their basic needs met through things like our trailers, our case managers, counselors, and be led toward navigating ending their homelessness, and doing it in a Christ-like way, and alongside our spiritual care team, to help make sure that they also know who Christ is too, and that's, we don't force anyone. We don't believe God would force anyone to worship Him.
That's right.
But we make it optional for our guests, and many of our guests, have taken advantage.
So you
of that.
connect them with a church also, with an
If
Adventist
if they want to go to a church, sometimes they don't feel comfortable while they're experiencing homelessness because
Yeah.
But if they do want to be connected to a church, we will connect them.
How does
to
that
a church.
work?
So our spiritual care team will usually, what they'll do is they might connect them with Bible studies and other things, but in those Bible studies, if they request being a part of a church, or we notice that they want that kind of community, then they'll actually go with them to the church. Actually, one of our spiritual care team members, and this is really just kind of, it's real special what happened here. So he, a couple of our guests want to go to a church, right? Mm-hmm. And so our client that was with him was still experiencing homelessness at the time. He didn't fully feel comfortable. He's like, don't worry about it, just come, whatever, it'll be fine. So, he goes to pick him up to go to church, and our spiritual care team member that's taking him, he's wearing tie-dye shorts, flip-flops, has a hole in his shirt, and the guy he's taking to church is like, man, I thought they were going to be looking at me, but they're going to be looking at
you.
you know? And he's like, you know, but he did that intentionally, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Because then now, you know, maybe he will get, you know, more of the looks or whatever, and you know, they won't, you know, notice our guest as much. But yeah, you know,
Right, they'll
that's
think your worker is the one that needs help.
yeah, right. They're going to him and asking if he needs assistance, you know. But that's the spirit. That's the spirit
beautiful.
that they come with that.
Remove that fear.
Yep.
Remove that fear.
Yep.
Now, what is youth expansion?
So we, you know, at SALT, you know, and like I mentioned before, you know, Central Florida is one of the highest concentrations of youth and young adult homelessness. You know, 16 to 24-year-olds, and so we applied for a grant to specialize in youth and young adult homelessness, and so we have actually a dedicated team of people that focus on just 16 to 24-year-olds. So this team, you know, I actually have a picture here of our trailer. This trailer right here is completely dedicated to youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. It has 3 bathrooms with, you know, showers like the other one.
Yeah.
Has the ADA in the back there. And in the middle, there's actually 2 washers and 2 dryers in it too. So it's an all-in-one kind of trailer. And so that was sponsored by an insurance company. They paid for that, and the truck that goes along with it. They gave us about $150,000 to build that trailer and to get that truck. Wow. But that trailer goes across Central Florida, engaging youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. And so,
how do you know where to go?
You know,
Yeah, that's a good question.
a lot of the time, they go to other agencies. So a lot of agencies kind of give us tips. Hey, we have a young person here, you know, and that kind of thing. Right. But also, as long as we set up a hub, there are actually peer-reviewed studies on youth and young adult homelessness, and the by far the way that gets the centers out the most is word of mouth. Once you get 1 or 2 youth there, I mean, that's going to spread, you know. Yeah. But we make sure that we're consistent with where we set up, where we go, so that youth and young adults know where to go. And so we actually are going to be, we had a grant to renovate a property to be a youth and young adult center for unhoused youth and young adults. Actually, I have a picture of that rendering as well.
Yes.
Ooh. So we can leave this up just for a second here. Yes. So you'll see here at the top right, we're building an ADA bathroom with a shower.
Okay.
And then there's also going to be another bathroom with a shower there. There's going to be 2 washers and dryers inside. You'll see there at the front, at the bottom of the picture there, there's the front reception area.
Right, the curve.
You can walk in and you'll see those tables with seats.
Yes.
Those tables with seats can be actually removed, and that could be an open, like maybe lounge area. But when we're doing classes or something like that, or someone's presenting, we could set that up for them to be able to get those classes. In the back, right behind that, we have kind of a library lounge area, you know, place for them to do homework. Yes. On the right, you'll see a kitchen. It'll have 2 refrigerators, 2 microwaves, places they can eat and get food, not have to worry about food. And at the top left there, you'll see you know, we have some office spaces below that, and kind of a lounge area as well for them to be able to just be out of the elements. And in the back of this center, there's like a little grassy area.
Okay.
We have gazebos getting built, a garden, some outside space. This is meant to be a refuge for youth and young adults experiencing homelessness to come. There's case managers there. We're going to have a counselor there. I mean, they can get all of their basic needs met and be navigated through the system into housing from this center. So we're really excited about this project.
That's phenomenal.
Love it.
So the impact is something that's really targeting specific groups.
Yeah. So we're thinking, and we're still talking about this, but we would like to, we're growing and we're setting up these different centers for everyone. No, it doesn't matter who you are, we will take you. But we've been talking about maybe creating specialized teams for specific demographics, because youth and young adult needs are very different, than older adults. Sure. Or, maybe a veteran's needs, are different than maybe someone escaping domestic violence. These are all little teams that we want to develop and lines to getting people into housing. Because if we can have dedicated teams that are pros at getting youth and young adults housed, then anytime we see a youth, young adult at any of our other centers, we'll say, hey, go here. There's a team for you. There's resources here.
That's right.
You know, and so that's kind of what we're thinking. We'll see what God does with that. We're applying for a grant to focus on veteran homelessness as well.
I was going to ask you about veterans.
Yeah, so there's a grant right now we're applying for. It's a 3-year grant where we can, you know, hire veterans with lived experience. So they're veterans, they've also experienced homelessness. We hire them and they minister to other veterans that are experiencing homelessness.
Wow.
And so, because with veteran homelessness, you know, there's a lot of trust that needs to get built there in the beginning. But compared to all the other populations, there's a kind of like a big wedge there that you need to get past. But when it's another veteran, and not only that, when it's another veteran that has experienced homelessness, I mean,
wow, the bridge is built.
Just the bridge is there. So it's a much easier transition. So we're applying for that. We might not get that. It's a very competitive grant, but we kind of have thought a lot about that. So we're hoping we can raise some funds to maybe get something like that going eventually. But you know, we'll see what God does. We'll see what God does.
We're looking forward to that future program where you talk about, hey, here's our veteran trailer, here's our veteran, here's our veteran staff.
Right.
You know, that's when you think about this world that is not even
There.
They're not there. Thank you, honey. There's a world on the streets that is often overlooked. It's like it reminds me of the story of the Good Samaritan. You know, there are people walking by every day, and there are people on the street. And because they don't look the part, because sometimes they may look threatening or they may look like the best they could look, they might be asking for a handout and somebody says, I don't need a handout. These are real circumstances. These are real situations. People that you might see a guy with his dog. You talk about the 72-year-old lady who couldn't carry on what her husband was in charge of. And she's now homeless. And sometimes you'll see a person on the corner say, veteran, homeless, need food, can you help? And he has his dog with him. You know, it's going to give a different attitude to many people. Just driving by them, we got to think, wow, do we need a SALT chapter here too? That's why I like the idea that SALT is expanding. Talk about some of the statistical aspects of SALT too, because you know, there's so many different things that have happened as you have continued to grow.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you sparked something when you were talking just now, and you know, kind of like that world of homelessness that sometimes, you know, us as housed people, it's invisible to us, right? We don't know, like, you know, how the mail services, that might not be something someone might think about right away as a need. You know, but something that we realized was a need that we've been implementing is storage services. And I want to talk about that a little bit because, you know, when we have people in encampments, you know, a lot of the times there's cities where there's people in tents and they're maybe out in different, you know, areas and you know, a lot of the time people are like, well, why don't they just go and get help or go, you know. Now, see, the challenge is when they leave their tent with all their stuff, many times their stuff will get stolen. And when they get stolen, they have to start at ground zero again, you know. And so what we're doing now is we're having a storage service where they can come to us, they can bring their important things, leave their tent, bring their important things, we'll store it for them, keep it safe. And then they can go off to their medical appointment. They can go off to see a case manager and go see their counselor without having to worry about their stuff getting stolen. But that's something that, you know, we don't really think about until we get in there and we start interacting with people and realize that's a huge barrier to getting someone to go and seek services and get the help they need.
That's so true, because you don't think about it. They have no walls, no doors, no locks. Sometimes just something as simple as the bare necessities or a blanket they've laid on for the longest time, and just something, all their belongings right there in their knapsack. And if that's gone, their life.
Shopping carts.
Shopping carts.
It's a big risk sometimes for a lot of people. A risk to their you know, and there's some times where, you know, maybe there's a pet, or maybe there's something of sentimental value. Maybe some of their clothes. We meet people that, hey, you know, these clothes right here was passed down to me from my dad who passed away. You know, and it might look like it's just a shirt and pants to someone else, but there's sentimental value there, and they might want to store that and make sure that doesn't get lost or stolen, you know. So, but you know, when it comes to the numbers, you know, and you know, our data team kind of puts this together, and we always are trying to break records every year because the need is growing every year. The first graphic here shows a bar graph of some of the needs that we met. So you'll see here, you know, showers. We provide over 16,000 showers last year. You know, over 50,000 hygiene products, over 18,000 loads of laundry, over 18,000 articles of clothing. And you know, these are things that help meet basic need, right? And help build relationship. And then the next slide there is actually, so each dot there is the amount of people that were housed after services with SALT. So that's each dot is a quarter, is a 3-month period. And so in the last year, after services with SALT, 294 people transitioned into housing. 44% of that number was directly housed by our case management team. The rest were housed in collaboration with other case management teams. So those, you know, we're very, you know, housing focused. Yeah, we provide the clothes, we provide the hygiene, provide the showers, but you know, it's to build relationship and trust. You know, show them who Christ is, get them linked to housing. You know, the Good Samaritan you mentioned, one of the first things he did was put him in shelter, right?
Exactly.
He took him in shelter, paid for a couple nights, so he was good. You know, he could
whatever he
figure it out.
needs is covered, and I'll take it when I get back.
Right, because a lot of the time, there are people out there that just are paralyzed because how do you, when you're in fight or flight mode 24/7, when you're not sleeping at night, every 15 minutes you're waking up, bug crawls on you, car lights pass by and it wakes you up, you feel like someone's pulling on your bag and you wake up scared. You know, I mean, you're not sleeping at night, you're not, I mean, it's
the uncertainty.
It's paralyzing. How do you do that? And so, so, you know, sometimes there are people out there that they need to be in housing first. Really everyone needs to be in housing first before they can start thinking about, you know, just these other, like getting a job. You know what I mean? Some people can do it. Richie was one of the people we talked about last hour. He got a job. He earned the money he needed to be able to move into a place. But then when you have someone that has a disability, you know, we have a guy, I'll share this story with you guys. We have a guy, he's in his 70s, he's in a walker, can barely, you know, get around and stuff like that. And, you know, we serve him pretty much every day we're open, he's there. He doesn't talk much, very quiet, no family or friends or anything like that. And every night, there's only 2 porta potties in downtown Orlando for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to use overnight, 2. And so overnight, that's all they have, right? So people with disabilities like him, he can't get to the porta potty. So there's 2 choices. You defecate yourself at night, or you risk going on the sidewalk and getting arrested and losing all your stuff. Because you would be surprised how many people unsheltered get arrested for using the bathroom outside. And I mean, I get it. But you know, it's a crime to defecate in public, but where else are they gonna go? You know, like, so what ends up happening for him, he defecates himself every night. He comes to us for a shower. Our staff help clean him up. He gets new clothes sometimes. And the same thing happens the next day, the next day, the next day. He can't get a job. He has Social Security. He's barely getting anything on Social Security. He's not enough to pay rent anywhere. He's on a waiting list for permanent supportive housing, which will take 2.5 years for him to get in. It's unfortunate, but there are some, you know, some people, they, you know, a lot of time we hear, oh, get a job first. They just need to get a job. Some people can't hold a job. They can't get a job, you know, and he's one of them. And so it's heartbreaking. And so, you know, if we weren't around, he wouldn't even be able to get a shower. He wouldn't be able to get his laundry done or get his mail anywhere or even see a case manager that's helping him through some things that he's going through, and, you know, and helping to get him on that permanent supportive housing list and doing all that. I mean, you know, so unfortunately, there's a good number of people out there that just, they can't work, you know, and we're helping to support them. We're going to do everything we can to get them off the street.
Nationwide.
We're peeling back the onion skin tonight. I really appreciate that, because sometimes we see SALT as, hey, everything's working, but sometimes you could look at situations like you just described here, where you know you just showered, you just got new clothes, and you're saying in your mind, he'll be back tomorrow. Same situation, and it's a cycle. And so it almost behooves the government, the local officials, to recognize this hidden world.
Yeah.
What do they do about it? Are they embarrassed? You know, you want to ask yourself the question. This is not something you could ask, but sometimes it might be the local.
What's the city doing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're you know, good people at the city. They give us, you know, some grant funding and do some of what we're doing. And initially, when we first were kind of ramping up, they were big in getting us funded to do it. And you know, that's why nonprofits exist, because the city can't, I guess, isn't able, or I mean, they might be able to, but aren't doing everything that they can do for their citizens. So they give us money and other agencies money to try and do something. You know, I will say that the how do I say this? The attitude toward homelessness right now, more than any other time that we've been doing this ministry, has been just unhinged. The city, you know, is trying to build a shelter right now.
Yeah.
They've tried to do it in so many different locations, and each time the community pushes back and says, we don't want to hear.
Yes.
And you know, a part of me is like, you know, okay, I can see, you know, they don't want a homeless shelter next to them, whatever. But then where is it going to go?
Where are you going to go?
Where is it going to? It has to go somewhere.
Has to go somewhere.
And you know, and so right now the next shelter, the shelters have been full for years, 4 years, 4 or 5 years. The shelters have been full, consistently full, every night. And for a new shelter to get built, we're talking like 3 years. At the soonest, there'll be a new shelter in Orlando. What's going to happen in 3 years? And so in the meantime, God has called us to a certain mission, a certain purpose.
Amen.
We are here to help. I mean, there are people that are surviving because we're there.
Yes.
If we weren't there, we had an incident. I'll share this story too, because and we'll go into some testimonies and stuff.
Sure, we have some other things to talk about. Yeah.
So we, this is tough. So we were serving in an area. We were taking our shower trailer out there. It was a wooded area where we knew some people experiencing homelessness were there.
Yes.
They were eager for help. I mean, there was a young person there crying, I just want to see a case manager. You know, I've walked over to this place, I've waited in line, can never see a case manager. I just need to see a case manager. I need help, you know. And they're there, and they were, when we got there and we started bringing case management, showers, clothing, hygiene, we had some food, meals. I mean, they were all grateful, and they started work with our case manager. There was one guy that was working with our case manager in particular that I want to talk about today. He's getting a job. He was applying for jobs. He was really excited to get to the next stage and get out of his situation. And so one day we're there serving, and you know, in order to get to this wooded area, we have to cross a private business owner's driveway. So we're not. They don't even have a place of business there. It's just an empty lot. You know,
Right.
We drive over this little, you know, sidewalk, probably as big as this table, and get to the other side, and we get to the wooded area. They came with a forklift and cement blocks to block us in. They said, leave right now. Leave right now, or you're getting locked in here.
What?
And so we were like, our team was like, okay, you know, we're gonna go, you know, please don't, you know. And at one point, they almost rammed that truck with that cement block into one of our staff. We had it on camera. We were recording it the whole time because we wanted to make sure, you know, we were covered. And just the hate. I mean, really, that's what I felt.
Right.
It was the hate
Yes.
toward people experiencing homelessness. There's nothing holding anyone back anymore. You know, they're just going all out. So we ended up leaving that place, and we weren't able to serve in that area anymore. 2 weeks later, the guy that was working with our case manager that was looking for a job, we found out he passed away. He got a cut, simple cut, opening, wound, became septic, and he passed away in that camp.
What?
We were pushed away from that encampment, and that ended up happening. And you know, it was a reminder that there are people, if we were not there, they wouldn't be alive. You know, there are just some people that just can't survive out there, and you know, I had the privilege of speaking at the homeless memorial service in Orlando. I did the
Homeless Memorial Service.
Homeless Memorial Service. It's where every year we get together, a bunch of organizations, and we honor the lives of those that passed away experiencing homelessness.
Wow.
There were 116 people that we knew of that passed away last year. And we had a John Doe that was for everyone else that passed away that we didn't know about. And they asked me to do the eulogy at that service. And I talked about that client. I'm like, we need to keep pushing. We need to keep going. We need to go harder. There are people that are dying because we are not out there doing what we need to do to serve these people, and they're dying without knowing Christ. You know, like
that's right.
We need to get out there. There's a sense of urgency. There is a sense of urgency, and so we have that sense of urgency, and that's what keeps pushing us. You know, and anyway, I felt compelled to share that with you, but.
You know, really, Eric, you're bringing us to the reality of it's no longer black and white. This is full color. What we're seeing, what's happening there, and this is what you're having to confront every day. You don't know what you're going to deal with when you pull up at a location, and to think about that, it just somebody would feel the disparaging attitude to just block it off. So I don't really care whether they die or not. Just get off of my property. That's just a sad reality.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about, you guys faced a crisis one time that you almost had to fold up your camp, so to speak.
We did, and you know, so we were on a live last year. Some people might be watching now that were on that were watching that live, and there were people that. So I'll start from the beginning. Let me start there. So basically, in June of last year, we were promised a very large donation from a corporation, one that's given us more money in the past, you know, and the MOU signed, everything was set up, right? Yes. So $130,000, right? So that's a lot of money. Yes, so we were really counting on that check to come in, and everything was planned, and then I get a text from that corporation saying that there's some internal issues. They don't know if they can get us that money. They don't know when they will get us that money. And so I go to our finance guy. I'm like, look, let's take our cash flow projection here. Let's take off $130,000. Just delete it. Yeah. How does that affect us moving forward? Yeah. And he's like, Eric, we will have to shut down our services by 80%. Wow. For 3 months, move our staff to other grant-funded positions, so no one's losing their job, but for our main operation, our busiest operation, the one where we serve that gentleman that has to, you know, that 70-year-old and with a walker, we have to shut down by 80%. That means 80 people a day, 5 days a week, not getting their basic needs met. That meant, that cutting down on our case management capacity too. And, that was really hard to stomach, you know. And so we did everything we could. We looked and we looked at every possible avenue of how can we recoup this, you know. And there was nothing that we could do, nothing we could do. So we ended up, about a week later, we brought our whole team into a room. We did like a town hall with our team. And I told them, hey, this is what's happening. Wow. There wasn't a dry eye in that room. Of course. Because, they weren't losing their jobs, but they knew how this would affect the people we're serving. Yeah. So right after that meeting, it just so happened a reporter came by, and it was about something totally different. Right. And she could tell I was a little emotional. She's like, what's going on? And, I tell her what's going on, what's happening. And she's like, you know what, forget that story. Let's talk about this. So I share what's happening on the news. After that story, 6 other news stations reached out and started, you know, they were like, oh, Salt can't shut down. Yeah, those are some of the news stories that popped up. You know, Salt can't shut down. We need to get it out there to try and get support for you guys. And so 7 news stories, Channel 6, Channel 13, Channel 2, I mean, everybody was talking about it. And we ended up, after that news story, you know, our team, a few days later, they end up going to our clients now, to our guests. And they go in the courtyard where they are, and they tell them what's going on. It was, you know, in this really just emotional, heartbreaking time, there was a moment of beauty there, because we shared what's happening with our clients, and someone in a wheelchair raised their hand and said, I'll volunteer to keep this going. You know, someone else, you know, with a disability, I'll volunteer. And they were willing to volunteer to keep this going for everyone else. And so, you know, so, you know, that happens. And you know, while this is happening, I get an email about someone that, you know, they see our shower trailer in Sanford, you know, 30 minutes north of Orlando. They say, hey, you know, I just want to talk. You know, I have some ideas for Sanford and love to meet with you. I'm like, okay. So we schedule something for a week later. Now, this is 4 days before the shutdown. I meet with this woman, and it was actually the day I was going to be here on 3ABN Live with Danny and Yvonne Shelton. I meet with her, and she, you know, she's like, hey, I wanted to talk about Sanford, but I saw this news story. I want to talk about that. What's that about? And I'm like, yeah, well, this is what's going on. She's like, okay, well, you know what? You know, let me see what me and my family can do. Maybe we can help in some way. I don't know. You know, we'll see. I'll send you a text. About an hour before I come on this live show, I get a text saying that they want to donate $300,000 to SALT, to keep SALT going.
God.
So the next slide here shows.
Oh, here it is.
So now all the journalists that did the whole story on us shutting down, they ended up having, as good journalists, they're like, we can't have this out there. They're not shutting down anymore. So there were 7 more news stories that had to come around and share the miracle of what happened, because they had to. They couldn't keep the shutting down story out by itself.
Right.
So the middle one there was the one that really resonated with me the most. You know, and it was because, you know, sometimes when they do stories, you talk about God, and they don't include it in the news story.
True.
That particular news story in the middle, they actually put God in the headline, right? So and because that's what we told our team. We're like, look, we did everything we could. All we can do is pray right now.
That's right.
You know, all we can do is pray for a miracle. We're in that room, you know, in tears, all praying for this miracle.
Yes.
And so, you know, what I do is I take, you know, and we're praying, you know, we pray that God can get the glory for all this. We told God, you know, hey, we will share this everywhere. You know, we'll share how you delivered, how you made this happen.
That's right.
And so, you know, we, you know, I manage the social media sometimes of SALT. You know, we have an Instagram, and so you know, sometimes I spend hours and hours putting together a social media post, and it gets like 2 likes on the post. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna go viral. Everyone's gonna love that. And no one likes it. So, but in this case, I took a screenshot of that news story, the same screenshot you saw on that previous slide there, the middle news story. Took a screenshot.
Yes.
I posted it on Instagram, and it went viral.
Wow.
3.8 million people saw this news story. And so God got the glory.
Amen.
He got the glory. He made this. We don't have viral posts like that on our page. We're not that big. But for some reason, and I know it was God,
Look what he did.
He made that news story viral. Wow. And so it was just, you know, had 24,000 likes. You know, so many people saw it.
Yes.
And now I get to share it in places like here, and share the greatness that God did. And you know, it's so, being a part of ministry, and you know, we're all in it. You know, we're all in ministry and stuff like that. And you know, every year, the challenges don't necessarily, at the core, the challenges are all the same. But the difference is they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
You know, in 2020, us maybe not getting a $10,000 donation would have been like, oh man, what are we gonna do?
Right.
Oh, what's gonna happen?
Yes.
And you know, but now in 2024, you know, $130,000 gap. We're like, oh no, God, what are you gonna do? And you know what? When we came on here on 3ABN Live, and I shared that, I dropped that bomb on Danny and Yvonne in the live, and they didn't know. They didn't actually know. I didn't tell them beforehand.
Okay.
Right.
And I just dropped it right there in the live, you know. And you know, that live, 3ABN viewers, they stepped up.
Amen.
They were donating. We got so many donations that day from 3ABN viewers wanting to help and make sure that we can hit our goal to keep things going.
Yes.
And you know, honestly, I almost feel like I need to take a second just to talk to the 3ABN viewers, because
Sure.
you, from the beginning, like 2016, you know, we had this dream, and 3ABN viewers have walked alongside us. They're donating on a regular basis. They're being a part of these miracles. They're a part of these miracles. You know, they're a part of this mission, and it couldn't happen without all the support we get, and we're so thankful. And you know, I'm almost in tears now, because it's like we're so thankful for your support. Your support goes such a long way.
Yes.
And so we're just so grateful for you. Thank you for your support.
I'm glad you put that out there, because we
too.
definitely want to reach out to the audience tonight. I know I'm just kind of sniffling here to keep it from becoming teary, because in reality, when you think about what God does, He's looking for people to stand in the gap. There's an unseen world that remains unseen to so many people. We pass them by. You know, every day we pass them by. You know, the song, People Need the Lord, is so fitting there. I could see it in their eyes, and you see it in their eyes. Empty people filled with care.
I remember once, years ago, when we were new in ministry, there was a man and his son that was homeless, and we took him in our home to live with us. He had nowhere to go. Right, honey?
Yeah, I got to tell you about this. Matter of fact, I wrote the song. I wrote the song, but I never published it yet. But you know, I might even dedicate this to what you guys do.
Oh, wow, that would be cool.
Because we were living up in the Northern California mountains at the time.
Never forgot this.
Our first church we pastored, actually the second one, but the first solo church. And a van pulled up in the parking lot. There was a lot of older people, so we had our prayer meeting early in the day, like 2 o'clock, because they couldn't drive at night through the mountains. When we were done, went out into the parking lot, a van pulled up, a man and his son. Caucasian guy and his young son, I'd say about 15 at the time. And he said, we asked him his name, he told us his name, and we said, well, where are you going? He said, nowhere. So we says, so how can we help you? He says, I just have 47 cents. Can you help me with something? So I'm, as I tell the story, the lyrics were just so powerful that I'm gonna just look that up here as I tell the story. Actually, it's in my head. So our church members, most of them older, they said, where are you going? He said, nowhere. They said, well, why don't you stay for a while? So we took him in.
To live with us.
Oh, we put him in a hotel for the week, right in town. And what do you need? We provided it for him. They said, so what's your destination? We really don't have one.
No.
We're just driving. And said, okay. So one evening I went to the gas station and I saw the dad there at the gas station, and I said, hey, how you doing? He says, I'm just getting some fuel for my van. And he was there when I got there, and I was filling up and I'm about to leave, but he's still there. I said, is there something wrong? Are you guys still in the hotel? Actually, no, we're not still in the hotel. What happened? Well, my son got really angry one evening and they put us out. How long ago was that? It's our second night. So where are you sleeping? In our van. And he said, we're having battery problems. And so how do you get your battery started? Well, we kind of drive up the hill in the morning, we put it in neutral and push it down the hill so it starts up. I said, I said, come to our house. There was no cell phones. So I said, why don't you stay with us? So we had them come in, and it was not too far from Christmas.
Just shorten it.
Shortened. So anyhow, we're sitting at the Christmas table there, and this is interesting. We helped them fill out paper. The church pulled together. So this evening,
Wow.
I get the story. So talking about going from one place to the next.
Yeah.
So quickly on the story. So this evening, the father says to his son, "Go outside to play. I got to talk to." And he said, now we could tell the story because it's many years later. He says, "Actually, I am a police officer. I won't tell you. I won't say from where. I've been on the run. There's probably a warrant out for my arrest." And he explained the situation. He says, "If you want to verify that, here's my mom. Call her." He had not done anything illegal, but he found a very uncompromising situation. He reacted to it, and my son and I just. So he said, "What we're going to do is we're going to return back home, face our consequences," and that was toward the end of the story. But we bought them gifts and all. They went back home, faced their time, and years later we came through the town. This is shortening the story, and they were living in that town.
Wow.
And so the words of the man and the son were out on the run, heading nowhere. They pulled off the road to lighten the load that they had. They saw a small steeple, and then they found people right there.
That's your song. I know.
Man, I need to hear that. I need to hear that.
Yeah.
What they didn't know, as we would come to show them you care, they were out on the go. What they did not know, there's no place you can't find them. So I don't get emotional like this, but this is what SALT is all about. There are people out there out on the go, and they don't know.
They don't know where.
There's no place that God can't find them. I've never gotten emotional on this story before like this, but I'm listening to the whole story of SALT, and it's really impressing me that there are so many people that are listening to the program, watching the program. I mean, we've had people come through here, and we've called their families and said, "Your mother is here," and they say, "We don't really care. We don't care what happens to her." And I'm thinking, this is your mother. She gave you birth. I don't care. You want to take care of her, fine, but we don't care. And they hang up the phone. And we've had many instances like that. So you're dealing with that in Florida. And there are chapters around the world that are having to deal with this. I mean, when I say chapters around the world, people around the world dealing with that. Now take us down the Mount Sinai route.
So now
that I'm clearing up,
I just want to say, I mean, that's such a beautiful story. I mean, I can't wait to hear that song. We got it. Before I leave.
I'll let you hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it.
Beautiful song.
So we the Mount Sinai route, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we our main operation, right? It's our busiest operation. It's in downtown Orlando. We we did our mission well there. It's led to our vision, and what's happening is that organization that we're operating on their property, we're transforming that property into a drop-in center campus. I mean, they're turning all the buildings focused on this, and with resources, $5 million grant they got to turn this campus into a center for people experiencing homelessness. So we were able to be that proof that this is needed here, and it helped to generate that. So we knew we had to move off the property eventually, right?
Yes.
So long story short, we get pretty much a 30-day notice that we need to be out of here, like in 30 days basically. And this was at the end of last year.
So just get off the property.
Yep. We needed to move our whole operation. We're serving over 100 people a day. We have our full case management team there. I mean, there's all of our services and resources are stocked in that building. Our administrative team is in that building. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's getting uprooted here when we have to move. And so we looked all over the place, and in that short time, Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church, they were like, you know what, we can take you guys here. It would have had to been temporary at that time, which we understood. It was going to be mostly outside. It was about 2 miles away from where we were, but it was on short notice, for them to take us in. We were so grateful for that. So we could at least continue serving while we figure out a longer term solution, right? So in the middle of all that, you know, I have a graphic here to kind of illustrate a little bit on the.
Yeah, like,
so you know,
yes.
we're in a place called the Christian Service Center, you know, in the middle of us looking for a space, right?
Yes.
We see a place called Powerhouse, and that place was actually much better for our clients. It was closer to where we were. There was more space. It could be longer term. The challenge is it's $6,000 a month.
Ooh.
So we saw that place and we're like, oh wow, this is great. We heard the rent price. We're like, you know what? I don't know if God wants us
Let's go
here.
free.
Let's go to Mount Sinai, you know. And so we end up going to that Mount Sinai church. Well, we're about to go there. About 6 days before we get to that, we officially move to that location, open up. I get a phone call. It's a Thursday. The next Wednesday is when we fully move into Mount Sinai Church. I get a call and it's someone yelling at me. I don't know if I can't remember the last time like anyone's ever yelled at me like this, but they were like,
oh, no.
We don't want you here. Keep your homeless people over there. They're gonna break into our homes. They're gonna you know, get our kids. They're gonna, you know, do this. I mean, it was like it was a good 20 minutes, and I couldn't even get a word in. I just there on the phone. I'm like, I try, and you know, she keeps cutting me off, yelling, and she's like, you need to stop, you know, and obviously like, I can't make a decision right there on this phone call. Right. You know what I mean? Like we feel like, hey, this is where we think we're supposed to be. You know, we're not just gonna. So I tell her, I'm like, look, you know, I thank you for sharing. I'll take what you said. I'll share it with the team. That's all I can say right now. But that's my personal cell number that now gets circulated to all the communities surrounding the church.
Oh.
I'm getting calls all night on Thursday night. Friday comes.
Yes.
I'm meeting with some people, some allies that we have, trying to get some advice. You know, I'm meeting with HOA presidents in that area. I'm talking with the church even, because now the church is getting, you know, knocks on their door, and it's the pastor's first week. God bless him.
Oh, no.
It was his first week. He's like, what did I get into? Yeah, baptized by fire. And that was his first Saturday he was going to speak, and everything. It was just crazy. So, you know, I'm talking to him even, because he's like, you know, well, who's Saul? What's going on here? You know, he's learning still and what's going on. And so, you know, I'm talking to the church. I'm meeting with these HOA presidents. When I'm in this meeting with the HOA presidents, there's 3 presidents there. They're like, tomorrow, Saturday, if you continue to go forward with this, we have a protest that's rallying right now that's going to protest during your church service at Mount Sinai Church the next day. And on top of that, we're calling a press conference. We're going to get the news there. This is on Sabbath. This is on church service time.
Wow.
And so
oh, we know that church.
I'm like, look,
Yikes.
I hear your concerns.
Right.
I need time.
Yes.
To pray about this, to talk to our board, talk to our leadership team. I can't make they were forcing me to make a decision on the phone. I'm like, I can't make a decision on this call. I'm sorry, but please do not please call off your protests. Call off your press conference. Just give me a day. Yeah. Give me a day to pray on this, to figure this out, talk to our team. It was one of the most stressful times I've gone through in this ministry. And one of the challenges was, you know, Mount Sinai is an amazing church, amazing pastor. I mean, they're spirit-filled. They're wanting to do ministry, and they're advocating. They want, you know, the church wants us there, right? They feel like this is a partnership. This is something God, you know, ordained, and you know, a part of me, the human nature in me, is like, I don't care what you guys say. We're gonna do it. You know?
Right. Exactly. You want to
That's
protest, fine. But
yeah.
People's needs. Yeah.
Right. You know, because this is for helping. You know, we got to help our people. We can't leave them stranded. You know, and so, but you know what? I take everything off the table. And I just want to shout out my wife here, because I was struggling, man. I was struggling. My wife was there every step of the way.
She was with you.
She was there praying with me, reminding me that God's got this. She didn't even seem worried. She's like, it's gonna work out. You're stressing out too much. You gotta, you know. But she was praying alongside me. She was comforting me. I mean, it was such a blessing. You know, God really. I'm so glad that she's in my life, and that God we're married, and so anyway, so now on Saturday I have to go talk to the church.
Oh, yes.
Because Mount Sinai Church had a business meeting that Saturday night.
Oh, boy.
And again, this is now 4 days until we start operating there. And the business meeting was more talking about logistics, how is this going to look here? Where do we set up? Those questions we were going to answer that night.
Right.
But instead now, I had to go there and share with them, look, we took everything off the table and only left our clients on the table. And we asked ourselves, what is best for our clients? Forget about money. Take money out of it. What's best for our clients right now? The best thing we determined for our clients, that what God led us to, was to be at that Powerhouse location. $6,000 rent, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't know, God, that's pretty steep, but maybe that's where God wanted, because we realized that we just kind of brushed that location off because of the rent, but in reality, God could meet all the financial needs. He meets he's the provider, right? Exactly. He's provided for us before. He just provided for us. I just shared that story with you.
Right.
So God can do it. And
right.
At the end of the day, that location, the Powerhouse location, was much better for our clients. So we said, you know what, God, I think you're diverting us back to this church. Even though it's a lot of money, we then had to develop the faith to say, you know what, God's going to provide.
Amen.
It's best for our clients. God's going to provide. So I go and I share that with the Mount Sinai Church, and man, I'm there in this, and I'm feeling, I'm feeling a little. It's
hesitant.
hard. It's hard, yeah, because it's like, there's so many people excited about having partnering in this way, and you've been to the church, people there.
We know Mount Sinai.
And so, but at the end of what I said, someone came up to the microphone. They're like, I told them everything. These are the reasons why we believe God's moving us to this new location, blah, blah, blah. Someone came up to the mic and they said, so what are you asking from us? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not, they're like, well, ask something. And I'm like, well,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, we could use help for that rent because we don't know how we're going to get that rent money. And then people, I'll give $400 a month.
Ooh.
I'll give $200. Writing checks right there, giving us checks for the money. The pastor on the screen, the church will make a formal donation to this and to help support this move. It was really beautiful. It was really beautiful. Beautiful people there, God-fearing people, and then it was affirmation. It was confirmation that God was going to provide for the rent. So eventually what ends up happening is Advent Health says, you know what, we had been talking with them, we shared with them the story. They reached out to us recently, a few weeks ago. They were like, you know what, we're going to cover the first year of rent.
Whole year?
$63,000 they're giving us to cover the rent of that church.
What?
God provided the rent. God provided the rent. Now, when in thinking about some text in the Bible, right?
Okay, all right.
I really felt God was speaking, and so I have one last graphic here I want to show.
Let's see.
Yeah,
so
here we go.
Walk us through it.
In Exodus 13, right? The Israelites come out of Egypt, right? Goshen, and in Exodus 13 it says, well, they could have went the short way.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was afraid that if they saw war, they go back to Egypt, right? So they were like, okay, you know what? I can't take them the short way. Their faith isn't there yet, right? So they said, you know what? Let me take them the long way. So he took them by the way of the Red Sea.
Yep.
That's right.
So they had the Red Sea experience. They go, and one of the climactic experiences they experience on this long way to their home is the Mount Sinai experience. And after that Mount Sinai experience, they eventually route their way all the way to, where Canaan is. Now, they had to go through a Mount Sinai experience to build the faith they needed to get home, to their rightful home.
Okay.
We also had to go through a Mount Sinai experience
Okay.
to be able to get to our rightful home, because God, we would not have had the faith for some reason. And it's so crazy because, and that's how it is, right? God does something amazing, and then all of a sudden, we're like, oh man, we're seeing this challenge now. Oh, what are we gonna do? And God used that situation to build our faith, to gradually build our faith, to get to the point where we said, you know what? It doesn't matter the money. God's gonna provide the money.
That's right.
this is where he wants us.
Amen.
If it's his will, it's his bill, right? I've heard that.
That's right.
And he did it. And you know what I mean? Now the first year, we don't have to pay rent, you know, and God is so good.
Is this year?
This just happened. This literally just happened. We just moved into the new place, about a month ago. Officially fully moved out a month ago. So it's about
square foot.
It's about I believe it's a combined about 5,000 square feet.
That's huge.
So we have storage for all of our locations.
Oh, wonderful.
Supply chain and all that. We have office space. We have a break area for our team. You know, we're signing a 3-year lease, so where they're going to be there long term. All of our services could be there. We have a courtyard for guests to wait. We can make it our own.
Okay.
You know, our shower and laundry trailer will be there. I mean, we have a case management dedicated space too for our case managers. I mean, it is
the promised land.
Yes, it is the promised land. There you go. There you go. That's what it is. That's
from Egypt to Mount Sinai to the promised land.
That's what it was. That's what it was for us.
And I believe that God is just getting started with you. And I want to just take a little time here to reach out to our viewers and our listeners, because I know that if you've been touched as I have, I mean, I don't ever get teary-eyed on a program. And tonight, my heart was moved and continues to be stirred in me, Eric, about what God is doing in your life. And if you've had a lack of faith when you started watching this program, you cannot end this program with that lack of faith, because God may have a Mount Sinai in your journey, and it may be on the way to the promised land. You might be a person watching this program from a homeless position.
True.
And you're thinking, hey, what about me? We're going to be praying for you tonight that God will lead you and guide you. And we know that the SALT experience is not something limited to Orlando or Southern California, but they're praying for this to be nationwide. But tonight, as a viewer, if you are in the position where you can say, I want to be able to stand in the gap, I want to be able to help build this bridge financially. I know that God has blessed me in ways that only you know, and you want to reach out to SALT. Could you put that information back up on the screen there, so that they'll know how to reach out? Service and Love Together. That's what SALT.org. Service, SERVICE, and ANDLOVE, in the word together.org, if you're listening on the radio. And you might say, I want to reach out to Eric Camarillo. I want to partner with him, his staff. They may need more. I mean, this ministry is just growing. It's not, there's a silent world out there. And God has blessed those who are watching the program and those who are viewers of this program, radio, 3ABN Radio, 3ABN Television. And we want you to know that the blessing is literally, as Danny has said, the blessing is on the go. God will provide. And as you bless, give and it shall be given unto you. There's the phone number. You can also call 866 Be Salty, SALTY. That's 237
I like that.
2589, 866-237-2589. I love that. Be salty.
Be salty. You want to get something catchy in there. I will say, if you call that number, make sure to leave a voicemail.
Good.
Okay. That's our main number, so we get a lot of calls on that number. Make sure to leave a voicemail so we can get back to you. Email me if so. And honestly, if you want to make a donation, you could always text Pass the Salt to 44321. You could go right on our website, or you could text Pass the Salt to 44321.
And it's 501c3.
501c3, tax-deductible donations. Yep. The 3ABN viewers have helped us to get this far, and we're excited to see where we can go and moving forward. So.
And by the way, this is a cooperative effort. Many denominations, but here's the blessing. I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. God bless you, Eric. I'm looking at you prospering in the Lord and the work of the Lord, and we know that whatever we can do here at 3AB to make a difference is going to be a significant blessing. We're looking forward to the next miracle stories. Honey,
it's blessing others, the homeless, the ones that don't have. And so we're grateful for what you're doing. And God bless you. Not just you, but your team.
Yeah, the team is
and
amazing.
your wife.
That's right.
It's wonderful.
Well, there's somebody out on the run heading nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
We pray that in your journey you will find Jesus as he directs you to him through the ministry of SALT. Until next time, God bless you.